Why, hello, everybody. Hello, hello. We are seconds into the stream, and Freddie is already begging for love and attention. How's everybody doing? Just getting things set up here. Let me ping the Discord before I forget. Before I forget. Um. Oh, what the heck? YouTube, why did you do that? It made my thumbnail. What? Maybe. Hold on. I gotta check this. In my Discord, the thumbnail is like literally my channel banner. No, it's right on the I don't understand. That's weird. For those of you who don't know, I have a channel banner now. Shout out to Dusty. We are live, and yes, I'm just getting everything set up. Sorry, apologies for the disjointed speaking, but I hope everyone's doing well as we get going here. It would help out immensely if you guys hit that like button on YouTube. That'd be super great, super wonderful. Would appreciate that a whole bunch. And hello Dadzilla, Ray and Glitchmaster and Turtle Bird. I am getting my link tree pinned in the chat. So if you want to check out my other socials, then you're more than welcome to do that. Like I posted on Instagram today, did a little bit of Oxbow flow. For those of you who don't know, I'm a flow artist, a movement artist, and yeah, it's great. It's good times. I love it. Um, very, very proud of being a movement artist. It's something I love, 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 love. So yes. Let me see here. Hello, Natalie. Is it wrong? I just got messed up and I'm losing my mind because I use breadcrumbs instead of oats on my Salisbury steaks. I don't eat Salisbury steaks, so I don't actually know. I have no idea, to be honest with you. Hello, Asura and Awesome. It's Leah and Poopy Boy. Yeah, exactly. Just got off the new member orientation call for DSA. Great vibes, great people in solidarity. Well, that's great for you. Good for you for getting out there and being a part of it. Like, look, I hear some people having some conversations and some discourse about how like certain chapters of DSA are like toxic, or certain people in DSA are toxic, or whatever. And yeah, I'm sure that's true. Like with any organization, like there are going to be toxic people that are a part of it. And especially when you're doing something like politics, you might get the kind of like no lifer, terminally online people that get involved with it or whatever. But like, look, if I'm being honest with all of you, the way to fix that is not to shun people from DSA. It's to get involved with DSA and help make DSA more well-rounded, to help make it more of an organization that is worth a damn. And yeah, so like if you're getting involved, Ray, thank you so much for the Canadian $5. Favorite YouTuber? That is high praise. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much. I want to live up to that, but I do get a little scared. It's like, oh gosh, I'm your favorite. I'm competing with all these other amazing people on this platform. That's a little scary. But thank you. I really appreciate the contributions, and yeah. You found out your recipe is wrong, you're not dealing with it well. Well, I wish you luck with that, but here's the thing about cooking, Natalie. There is no wrong way. If you enjoy your Salisbury steaks and you like them the way that you make them, then play. You know what I mean? Like there's nothing wrong with that. Like if anything, like food is an art, right? And if you like it, that's literally all that matters. That is literally all that matters. Like screw everyone else. If other people are using oats and you're over there using breadcrumbs and you're having a great time, then like play, like pop off. I'll never tell people not to do activism, even if I have issues with the praxis. Yeah, exactly. Like I of course it would be, in a perfect world, everyone would be like a perfect activist and have all of these like perfect whatevers, but like that's not real life, and that's not gonna work. You know what I mean? So I think as long as people are engaged, like for instance, here's the thing. Like I'm active on YouTube and I do a lot of my activism here on YouTube. And like, yeah, I do some real life stuff as well, but like a lot of what I do is here on YouTube. Is that the most effective thing? Probably not, actually. Like it might be more effective for me to like join a real life organization and do a lot of work through them, like I might actually get more done doing that. But this is what I'm able to do consistently, and like making an impact at all is better than not making an impact, right? So that's just what I have to say about that. Honestly, the rest of the trans live streamers are insufferable to you. Oh, wow. Some shade there. I you know, I appreciate that you like my streams. I'm not gonna say anything bad about any trans live streamers. I know a few of them. I like them as people. I think they're cool, and I have watched content and stuff. I think that I provide a certain kind of vibe that maybe isn't provided by other live streamers or other trans content creators. I don't really know. Honestly, it's hard from the inside. It's hard for me to tell like what the experience is like for you all as an audience, like watching me. Right? Like that's hard to find out. Yeah, it's like I know what I'm like, but it's like listening to your voice inside of your head versus like you know, listening to it in a recording or whatever. Like you're all having a very specific experience as an audience, and I'm not having that experience because I am the one streaming. So it's like really hard for me to have that experience. Even if I watch back my stream, which would be super weird, like just me talking to myself. Even if I did that, I don't think I would have the same kind of experience because I'm so used to myself. You know what I mean? Uh, After watching your live, I just started to love watching live. Oh, well, that's great. I'm glad that I could spark a little bit of passion for it with you, for you and stuff. I just touched my eyeball. I shouldn't have done that. Forgot I was wearing makeup for a second. Hopefully I can get a local group together. I live in the middle of nowhere, and folks here, even in Republican counties, are fed up with things as they are. Towns in Colorado are unaffordable. Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, for sure, there's a lot of room to get people involved, and um, I think that that's one of the biggest reasons why we need to organize as leftists in real life and get involved with active organizations is because like look, when people are fed up, they're going to look for a different option, right? Like if they're fed up with Republicans, they're going to look for a different option. And if they hop over to the Democrats aren't going to do jack shit. Like if they just hop over to being an establishment Democrat shill, it's um it's not going to help. Like it's going to make them disenfranchised because they're going to realize that neither side wants to do anything for them. Um so like DSA and other organizations are important because they provide an alternative, you know, outlet for political energy and stuff like that. So, like you're going to get people who are disaffected Republicans, disaffected Democrats, and it is definitely helpful to have some structure there so that people can when they are disaffected, you can kind of grab them and pull them in or whatever. Um yeah, just to like, live and stuff. Yeah, no, living is really, really, really tough. It feels real, like it's not a performance. Well, that's great. I try not to make I mean, it is a performance, like by the very oh gosh, I'm sorry about the yawning. It is a performance by the very nature of it, but I try my best to be as real and honest as possible. Honestly, the performative elements of streaming for me are literally just like the fact that I am like constantly yapping and on and I'm like super engaged and I'm reading chat and I'm like going like I am not like that in real life all the time. I can be like that. But I tend to be a lot more chill and quiet and I don't talk nearly as much as I do as I do on my live streams in real life. But the performative element is that, like I'm the one talking and I have to kind of maintain the conversation by myself while we're listening or while you're all listening and engaging in chat and whatnot. And so, but yeah, like I don't, as far as like, there are a lot of YouTubers who like craft a persona. Also, hello, Alice and Sheepish and Drew. Hello, hello. A lot of YouTubers craft a persona and then they sort of like try to fit in with that persona when they stream, and it's not really like how they are in real life. I am like this in real life. I'm just not as like highly engaged as I am on streams all the time, Like, and so I think that makes sense. Born too late for DD's stream on Trans Optics, born just in time for Cozy Leah stream. I actually don't even really know what you mean by that, but I appreciate it. I'm glad my streams are cozy. Are you on TikTok too? I do have a TikTok, but I have not posted on it in a very, very long time. So I don't know. It's something I've thought about doing, but I already struggle enough, like just keeping up with my current schedule of YouTube and everything. So I feel like it would be good for me in terms of growth and getting my everything to grow, but gosh, like trying to think of shorts. I'm really bad about thinking of like thinking about shorts is really hard for me to do. If you watch my channel, you know I am not a concise person when it comes to talking about things. I like to hit the nuance. I like to like really dive deep into things, and I like to really expound on my thoughts and things. And so like the idea of doing just like a minute short or less is just really like it's hard for me to imagine. It's hard for me to think of ideas for things. Like I probably could force it, but I'm not really sure. Hey there, Ashlyn, welcome, and Health, welcome as well. Specifically, what I love about you is that you're not attempting to radicalize us. Your voice also is really soothing. Have legit fallen asleep several times watching you live. Hey, that's really nice. Thank you for that. I really appreciate that. I'm glad I've heard that before, that my voice is very soothing. And it's not even like I almost feel like it's not even just my voice. I feel like it's also like the vibes, like I put off a very like I'm a type 8 in the Enneagram, and the social role for type 8 is like the rock, you know? So I tend to be, and Ashlyn, thank you so much for the 10 uh tier 1 gifted subs. Thank you so much. That's amazing. You're the best. You're the best ever. Much love. Thank you. Um but yeah, like what was I saying? Something about vibes. Something about vibes. Oh, my social role. Oftentimes people come like in real life, people often like open up to me very, very quickly, and they like people dump their life stories on me, which is not a bad thing. And people come to me for advice, and I often am holding space for people to like vent or to just have discussions about things they're going through. And I think that the reason why is because people find it soothing to talk to me about things. Like I'm able to do that for people. So like I don't really fully understand how that works necessarily. Like I said, it's weird for me being me because I don't experience myself as you all experience me. But yeah, that's nice to hear. No, you're the best. Aw, thanks. I appreciate that. I woke up late and missed a Dead Domain stream earlier. I've been thinking a lot about trans optics recently, so I'll probably watch the VOD. Yeah, that's interesting. It's a really important conversation, actually. I think that optics matter a lot. I am one of those people where like as a political movement, yes, of course facts matter. Like of course our rights matter. Like all of that is paramount. But like I think that there has been an under focus on optics on the left in terms of like what will actually work. Like we tend as leftists, we tend to pick things like phrases or slogans or whatever that just seem really base to all of us. Like I could give you a million examples, but there's a lot of examples of like leftists coming up with a slogan because they think it's like giga based or whatever. But then when you try to bring that slogan to the general public, they don't have the informed position that leftists have. And so when you come at something like when you come at them with something like defund the police, they do not understand defund the police as a leftist understands defund the police. And so optically, it's kind of a toxic slogan or a toxic political whatever because it doesn't speak to people who are not already leftist. Like yes, we can do this like masturbatory, like, oh, we're so right about everything and oh, whatever. But like it's not helpful when we want to bring people into the fold and grow understanding of what we're standing for and what we're fighting for and what we actually want to accomplish. And so that's why like I always advocate on my channel that like we need to just like cut through the bullshit with all the slogans and all the whatever. And it's like we need to stand up for what we actually want to accomplish, right? I think that is literally the way. Like, if you talk about like, hey, you all deserve free healthcare. Hey, you all deserve like public transportation that works for you. Hey, we all deserve affordable housing so that, there aren't like so people don't have to be homeless on the street. Like they can, have a place to live. And then, like there's all sorts of things and we get caught up in these like fancy slogans or whatever. But like fundamentally, like yeah, we need to try to talk to people in a way where they're going to understand that like, hey, we're trying to make your life better. Like defund the police does not sound like we're trying to make your life better unless you already know why that's a good thing, right? If you don't know why that's a good thing, you're going to hear defund the police as non-leftist and be like, "Whoa, you're going to get rid of the police? We're abolishing the police?" And it's like, "No, first of all, that's not what we're saying. And second of all, like, it's a deeper conversation, but like you are shutting people out from the get-go." And yeah, so I don't need to go on more and more and more about that, but that's an interest. I would have to. I am interested in checking out Dead Domain's stream on that. I'm curious about their thoughts on optics because I know Dead Domain has done a lot of like real life going to events, like talking to people in real life. Like, Dead Domain has a pretty good perspective on that kind of stuff. So I would be curious about what their thoughts are there. Health, I don't know if I said hi to you, but hello. You're in the Guinness Book of World Records for the second time? That is incredible. That's so cool. Let's see. What did you do? First time world's longest drag queen chorus line. I don't know. I don't actually I'm sorry, I don't even know what that means. By chorus, do you mean like music wise, like the length of a chorus in a song, or is that something different? Second time world's largest e-bike party ride. Nice. I DJ'd at the largest e-bike e-bike party ride for 30 minutes and gave away mini dumpster fires. Oh, that sounds rad. Health, you're rad. I appreciate you. Thanks for being you. Yeah, I don't even share my pronouns with anyone who isn't very obviously queer or lefty enough. It's just not worth the time to explain it. I get you there. And like, but I think it is worth like finding a way that makes it approachable for people to discuss things. But I get what you mean that like depending on the circumstance, it's really hard. Like when I was early in transition, I just kind of like people just used whatever pronouns they used, and I didn't correct people. Like the first like 10, 12 months of me transitioning, I wouldn't correct people. Like they're gonna see what they see. And honestly, if they're a complete stranger, yeah, it stings a little bit, like if you get misgendered, like it kind of sucks. But at the same time, they don't know you. And like one thing that you have to keep in mind as a trans person or non-binary person is that like cis people get misgendered too. And so like them misperceiving you is not a slight against how you present or who you are. Like it is literally just that they misread you. Like it's not always even big. It's not even always bigotry. Like actually, like there are a lot of times where someone misgendering you is genuinely a misunderstanding. And if you got to know that person or whatever, they would be like maybe a little more compassionate about like, oh shit, like I didn't know that. I'm sorry or whatever. But yeah, it's a whole thing. Definitions are manipulated to invalidate too. Sorry if you said that. Stream is glitching for me. Oh, I'm sorry. Stream is glitching. Is anyone else having a weird glitchy time here on stream? I apologize if things are. It looks kind of okay. I mean, Twitch always says that my stream is unstable, and I don't really know what the hell's going on there. To be honest, I genuinely I have no clue. One thing I wanted to mention is I am working on emotes and stuff for the channel. We got a channel banner done, and next up are emotes. So we're gonna have those, and then if you're like a channel member, Twitch member or whatever, it will be good. It will be good. I'm excited for that. I'd love to hang out with DD though, to be fair. Oh, that's cool. Yeah, they seem like a really rad person. Um It may just be you, don't worry. Okay, that's fine. That's good and fine. Just good and fine and stuff. So we can chat for a little bit. I do have a video that I want to get into, and I'm worried that the video is gonna be pretty long. I'm gonna try not to make it super duper long, but it is something that I care deeply about, and so have a feeling that it might end up going a bit long, which we'll see, we'll see. Um, what is this? I've always felt like I was the weird one for being hypervigilant. No, that's like very common for people with PTSD, being hypervigilant. It's like it's a very common thing. And like you overthink everything, but you're good with mechanical stuff. Well, that's something that you could work on. Like there are mindfulness practices and other things that you can do where it's not going to like immediately fix everything or anything like that, but it's a practice that you can kind of take into your life and to help like work um on deconstructing that kind of mindset, because like really what it is probably is that you have like you're sort of stuck in a specific state of consciousness, and what you need to be able to do is access an altered state of consciousness where you're not as uh hyper engaged and hyper vigilant. Like that happened to me for a long time. I was very traumatized growing up, and so like I was kind of in this hyper vigilant state of mind for a very long time. And one of the things that actually helped me with that was transitioning, to be honest with all of you. I feel like once my body was running on estrogen, I stopped feeling as bad all the time. I don't know. I like it really like I feel like I'm actually worse at stuff now than I used to be pre-transition in terms of like raw skill. But yeah, like that's not I'm it's a fair trade. Like I don't want like having like supremely hyper vigilant like brain is good for certain like productive tasks for sure, but it's also not good for your health and long-term health and stuff. So same, the nervous system gets stuck. Yes, the nervous system does get stuck and those kind of things. And also like, that's one thing about American society that is really toxic is that we get stuck in this like there's like a specific name for the altered state of consciousness where you're like maximally productive, but essentially like American society, I can't remember what it is. It's like I can't remember what it is. But there's there's a kind of altered state of consciousness that is basically a fight or flight state where you're maximally productive because you're like you basically can't relax. Like, think about how important caffeine is to American society. Caffeine is indicative of that, and so is tobacco, and so is alcohol. Like, we push ourselves to the limits in terms of stress and activity and productivity, and then as a society, we either use drugs that help us keep up with that kind of stuff or drugs that help us completely, like, crash afterwards and just, like, bleh. Like, a lot of people, work super duper hard, and then they go to a bar and they get absolutely sloshed, and that is just a way to try to forcibly balance the scales, but it doesn't work, right? It's not really super duper effective, and what's more effective is being conscious of the kind of state that you're in, and if you notice that you're always in this tense, hyper vigilant, productive kind of mindset, or God, it's like the alert problem solving state of consciousness. I think that's what it's called. Like if you're all unfamiliar if you're all unfamiliar with altered states of consciousness, I would honestly really recommend looking into that more, because altered state of consciousness is like a very important thing to understand as a human, that like there are the different states that you are in throughout your life in terms of like what you're experiencing and how you're feeling and how you're reacting and how you're processing, and the state of consciousness you're in frames all of that. And so like if you're unable to relax, it's probably because you're stuck in that, and you're unable to kind of break free from that that really hyper vigilant alert state of consciousness, which is bad. You want to be able to you want to be able to relax a little bit. The skill thing could be unmasking and skill regression too. Yes, it is also that. It is like it's a combination of factors. You know what I mean? It is a combination of factors. And I do think that unmasking, like I used to mask all the time. Obviously pre-transition, I did a lot of masking. Um I can't do it. Oh gosh. Sorry for all the yawning. I can't do that anymore. And so it's kind of tough for me. But yeah, I've definitely regressed in a lot in certain ways. And it's fine. Like even socially, I feel like I've regressed in certain ways. It's a means of control. force to hypervigilant the forcing to hypervigilance. Yes, yes, I agree with that. And our society, like I said, our society kind of pushes that on people. It makes you feel like you need to be that way because otherwise you're going to fall behind. Otherwise you're not going to succeed. Otherwise you're going to fail or whatever. And what people need to realize is that like you can let go and relax a little bit and it's actually better for you in the long run because you're not going to just like burn yourself to the ground. You're not going to burn the wick at both ends and really like, fall apart. I have a comorbidity of PTSD and OCD. It's a bitch to put it lightly. Yeah, I can imagine. That sounds a bit rough. I'm sorry about that. Joey, hello, welcome. Can confirm as soon as I started on E, just knowing that I had that sort of agency really helped me take control of other parts of my life. I don't know how to describe it. No, for sure. Starting HRT for me was a huge turning point in my life, and it really bookmarked like like or maybe not that's bookended is probably not the right word. You know what I mean? But it really notated or whatever uh a change in how my body felt and how it was processing information and how I was processing life itself. Um like I had a very constant sense of cognitive dissonance before transition, before starting HRT. There was just this like feeling in my brain that was like there was just something in the back of my head that was constantly bugging me. And so I would use all sorts of kind of like endorphin rushes to try to get away from it, right? Like so I used to use a lot of cannabis, I used to use nicotine, I used to drink a ton of caffeine, and those were ways for me to like intoxicate myself and force myself away from that cognitive dissonance, force myself away from thinking about it. But at the same time, like it was something that was happening in my body as well. And so it was like it was really inescapable at the end of the day. And it led to a lot of toxic habits and a lot of um like I was a workaholic through college. When I was in college, I would work like, I would get up, go to school from 8 to 4 and then work from 4 to 11 and then do homework until like 2 in the morning and then wake up the next day and do that every single day except for like, Saturday or whatever, but I would work on the weekends as well. And so like I really I was doing all of that because it was better than being alone with my thoughts kind of and stuff. So hi, internet peoples. Hello, Mad Hatter. I'm in the same position. Masking was killing me. Yeah, I think masking is really, really, really bad for autistic people. If you're on the spectrum, you should explore how to unmask without um like, obviously, if you unmask, there are gonna be people who are gonna react poorly to that, and you're going to suffer consequences for it. But I think that, honestly, accepting that those are the consequences of being someone who's autistic is better than suffering the consequences of forcibly masking for your entire life. For me, a lot of what I thought was regression post-transition was actually me having never truly matured in certain areas of my life. Being closeted prevented me from maturing in many ways. But in the US, admitting you're immature as an adult is shamed instead of being seen as growth and acknowledgement of reality. Yes, no, I would agree with that. And actually, like I think that being humble, being willing to admit that you're wrong and to update your viewpoints and to update your thoughts and everything based on new information is incredibly important, and I think that that is a sign of maturity. Like a lot of people, there's this idea in the U.S. that if you're mature and you're whatever, you're like this strong, independent person. But like the peak of maturity is understanding that we are all interdependent. Like on this channel, I would be nothing without all of you here. Like I need an audience in order to be a YouTuber, right? Like that doesn't like one of those things. Like just being a YouTuber without an audience is not really being a YouTuber. And so it's sort of one of these things where it's like being able to acknowledge that I am sort of dependent on this social structure that like I feed into it and it feeds back into me is way more mature than being like I did it all myself. I'm like such a strong, capable like I think that stuff is cringe, honestly. Like yes, it's cool to be capable and it's cool to like be knowledgeable and whatever and to be able to take care of your own problems, but at the same time like we live in a society, and by the fact that you live in a society, like shit, you were a baby once, like you had parents that took care of you, like you weren't wiping your own ass when you were like 3 months old, you know what I mean? So, like, I think a lot of people grow up and they kind of forget that, and they kind of they stop thinking about the fact that, like, yes, we all rely on each other. Like, I see this a lot with, like, how people treat service industry workers. Like, I worked in food service for, like, 8 years, right? And so, like, one thing that I can always tell about how mature someone is how they would interact with me as a service worker. If someone would interact with me with gratitude and, like, being like, you go up to the table to, like, bring their food or whatever, and they're like, "Oh my gosh, thank you so much, like, I really appreciate it, like, it means a lot." That says something to me that they understand that they are relying on me as a service worker to provide them a meal that otherwise they would have to take care of themselves, and they don't have the energy or time or whatever, and you're doing them a service, like, you're doing them a service. And also at the same time, like, when something bad happens as a service worker, how people react to that also says something about their maturity. Like, if you are in, like, you work in food service, it's very chaotic. It's very nonstop. People make mistakes. Like, that is just a fact of life. Like, we all make mistakes. And so, like, if I made a mistake as a food service worker and someone were like to scream at me or yell at me or treat me like shit because of it, that says a lot about the fact that, like, they don't understand that, like, the world doesn't revolve around them, like, things happen, and if you're not able to understand that and internalize that, you're gonna treat people really, really dog shit. But, like, there are people sometimes, like, you're working in food service, you make a mistake, and they're like, "No worries, it's totally fine." And if anything, like, that makes me, like, wanna go more above and beyond for those people to, like, right the situation because, like, they're being understanding about the fact that it happened in the first place. It's like, well, in that case, like, that makes me wanna, like, comp your meal. That makes me wanna, like, make sure that you're happy because you're showing me that, like, this is not just a selfish thing for you. Whew. I found EMDR useful in this area. I wonder, so what is that? Let me look that up real quick. EMDR. It's a form of therapy, it seems. Eye movement desensitization and reprocessing is a structured psychotherapy developed by Francine Shapiro in 1987 to treat post traumatic stress disorder and other distressing memories. The therapy involves recalling a traumatic events while simultaneously engaging in bilateral stimulation, most commonly guided side to side eye movements, hand tapping, or auditory tones. The primary goal of EMDR is to help the brain naturally reprocess unprocessed traumatic memories, thereby reducing the emotional intensity and vividness. Unlike traditional talk therapy, EMDR does not require detailed verbal descriptions of the trauma or extensive homework between sessions. Instead, it focuses on changing how the memory is stored in the brain to alleviate symptoms such as anxiety, panic, and negative self beliefs. Well, that actually sounds really cool. That sounds like a really cool form of therapy. I bet that that's really useful for a lot of people. Um, as someone with PTSD, I can totally understand how that works. Like, there's a lot of therapies for people with PTSD that are kind of similar to that, where it's like you're utilizing a way of reframing or reprocessing a traumatic event in a way that's way less distressing, so that your brain sort of like recategorizes it or processes it in a different way, so that it doesn't like force you into that like distressing state of mind all the time. Like, I think some people do that like with like therapeutic MDMA and stuff. Um, I've heard of that being done, and yeah, that's really cool. That seems like a really cool therapeutic approach. This is the hardest part for me with anarcho living. I like the concepts and strive for them, but I am also antisocial because I find 90% of people absolutely annoying. I can understand having a sense of like, not getting along with a lot of people. Like, I often feel ostracized by like social society and stuff like that. But you have to keep in mind that like Riff, no matter how much you dislike a broad portion of the population, that like without those people, you wouldn't have food on your table, you wouldn't have power in your house, you wouldn't be able to live your sort of independent life without the interdependence of other people having built a societal structure that allows for that. So like, like I don't know. I think I think that's really important to reconcile with, and it kind of gives you an appreciation that like even if you might really dislike someone on a personal level, you have to recognize the societal value of someone who's doing that. Like, um, yeah. Shader theory Shader theory said deep nut. Interesting. Interesting. Uh, Shader theory also redeems stretch. Here, I will do that. I will stretch a little bit. And actually, I want to jump into the video soon just because I feel like it might be a little long and I don't want to get caught up in a, like I don't want stream to go super long and then be like, oh crap, we got to record the video and then whatever. So, oh, I was just outside flowing before stream, so it's good to like stretch and not just like stop moving. I always do that. Like I'll do a lot of activity and then I'll just kind of stop. And it's actually way better to like let your body decompress and kind of ramp down off of the activity. Dice Mistress, hello. Let me see here. Where are we going? EMDR worked for me, but do it with a therapist. Oh yeah, if you're gonna do that kind of form of therapy, you need to do that in a therapeutic setting. It's not gonna work if you just kind of like do it in your living room. I find it's overwhelming to coming out to parents. Yeah, that can be really overwhelming. It can be really frustrating and scary, and you don't know what's gonna happen. But honestly, like when it comes to something like coming out, you just have to find the courage to make the leap. Like you have to accept that you don't know how someone's gonna react or what they're gonna say or what they're gonna do. But you just gotta take that leap because it's for your own good. It's not, it matters how they react, but also it matters that you need it, like that you do it for yourself. People try to sell it online or make crappy videos. Oh, I see. It's cool to be independent because it's cool to live. It's purely instrumental value. I don't really find any joy in doing things on my own just for the sake of it. I see. I see what you're saying there. For a second, I got that mixed up with ESMR and I was confused. I don't know what ESMR is. For CPTSD, oops, I'm planning to save to try a what is that? Stellate ganglion block because of my case, but it's a bit risky if you have a crappy doctor. Interesting. I don't know about that. I don't know much about that at all, actually. I have CPTSD. I have CPTSD as well, and yeah, it is very stressful sometimes. Having spent a lot of time trying to work through those, process those events and feelings and memories is a tough task. So I can understand wanting help with that. When I came out to my dad, I didn't prep him even a little bit. Went over to his place to do laundry and dress up in a dress and makeup. He did a double take and was like, "Going somewhere?" Yeah, see, actually, like I'm not gonna lie. When it comes to coming out to people, I think ripping the Band-Aid off is just the best way to do it. Like you have no control over who's gonna react, how they're gonna react, or whatever. But like it is something that you are fundamentally doing for your own well-being, and in that way, like if you start concerning yourself with how everyone's gonna like react, it just adds pressure that you don't need on top of it. Like, like I understand what it's like when you're like when you want to say something but you're scared to say it. It's like a choking feeling in your throat. You're like, oh my gosh, oh my gosh, it's like, oh my gosh. And then you you just sort of have to push through that and get over that like barrier and just do it. You know what I mean? At least that's how it's been in my life. That's how I feel about it. I definitely keep in mind the unity we all share as a society, but it still doesn't make it easier to relate to them beyond that. This is probably just from a year uh of being on the fringe of culture. No, I mean I relate to you a lot in that sense that like, like interpersonally there's a lot of people that I do not mesh with. I don't gel with a lot of people interpersonally. Like I'm a very authentic person and like if you all live in the real world, then you're probably aware that there's a lot of people who don't act authentically in their lives. There's a lot of people who are out to get things. They want money, they want power, they want relationships, they want this or that or another thing. And that is what is driving their interactions and the way of speaking and the framing that they have behind everything. And so like it gets really complicated when you're like you want to be like real with people, but like no one wants to be real with you. Like I understand that entirely. Like it's a very relatable experience to me. I often feel ostracized from broader society and stuff like that. But honestly, for me, spirituality has been an important part of that for me, is that like I can recognize the humanity in people who I don't relate to at all. Like, like I can see the Buddha in people that are not that I can't gel with, that I can't mesh with. I can see the Godhead in other people, and it helps me relate to them on a very deep core level that gives me a sense of like I don't know if camaraderie is the right word or whatever, but uh like even people that I really disagree with. There are some people that I do think are like fundamentally extremely evil and like corrupted in spirit and stuff. And those are the people that I have the hardest time relating to. Like there are some people that like they outwardly project so much hatred and darkness and vitriol and they like make the world literally a worse place. Those are the people that I just like it's a complete barrier. Like I can't relate and I can't understand and I don't even want to understand or relate to those people. But for the most part, like well-meaning people who have good intentions, who are trying to just live their lives, like I can recognize the struggle that they're in and like honestly, like if you look at people and you look at the circumstances of their lives and stuff like that, it really I think a lot of people, when you look at how they were raised and what's going on and whatever, it kind of makes sense that like where they're at makes sense, you know? Acacia, or sorry, anime sidekick gal, hello. I don't know why I called you Acacia. Um, let's see here. What do we got? It is. I had a panic attack when I told mine, but I don't regret it. Yeah, I get you. It's scary. Hey there, String. Welcome. It's good to see you. I haven't seen you in a while. Uh, I don't know if you mean this, but I'm the type that people either tend to love or hate because of that. Because of what actually? Yeah, I'm not sure. But yes, I people either love me or hate me. That is very true. Being autistic, I do think that a lot of people have like sort of like a cringe social reaction to me oftentimes when they meet me. Like I'm just like a kind of a weird person and like I don't like I'm not trying to play it cool or whatever. And so a lot of people kind of view me as sort of like outside of that social game, which kind of gives people like allistic people kind of have an ick when they experience that with autistic people. But yeah, people tend to either like I'm a really strong personality, right? Like I have a lot of energy and like my spirit and myself just kind of like radiates out of me really powerfully. And so a lot of people either find that super annoying or really exciting and nice and fun or whatever. Like it's a duality, right? Ram Dass said to treat everyone like they're god in drag. That's cool. Oh god, the drive thing is so depressing, especially since I work in cannabis production. Everyone clearly wants to be the guy, but is stuck at the bottom with me, but that's their motive. Yeah, no, I get that. There's a lot of people who have internal ulterior motives, and that's how they're framing everything. Like, like in social situations, like when someone is out to get something, it's very obvious to me versus when someone wants to have an authentic interaction with me. It's like it is night and day. I can tell it immediately from people. I can smell it on them. A level of empathy. Buddhism is great, especially if there's a what a Rira no Buddhist center. I'm not familiar with that kind of Buddhism that you're talking about in the chat there, Dyer. But I do think Buddhism is great. And actually we are gonna talk about that a little bit with the video here in a second. I'm gonna start recording a video, and the video is gonna be about something. It's gonna be about something. It's gonna be something related to that. Hey everyone, out of curiosity, does anyone here follow a particular faith or practice a specific religion? I do not practice a specific religion or faith, but I am a very spiritual person and I have a very deeply uh thought out and experienced spiritual practice. I don't know how to describe it other than that. We're going to talk about that actually here in a few. That's going to be kind of like the theme of the video today. I've been studying Taoism along with it. Yeah, that's great. That's also great. I think Taoism is great. Buddhism is great. A lot of the Eastern traditions have a lot of like lessons that are really important for Westerners to learn because as imperialist colonizer Western like leftists, a lot of us have a very materialistic, non-spiritual interpretation of the world, and I think that that's kind of inherently a little toxic. Um, the idea of karma and reincarnation low key helps with my CPTSD because I know my abusers are headed. Yeah, no, that's yeah, I feel you there. Have you ever found that your radiant presence has made it more difficult to get a job and get along in life? It makes it hard for me to be in non like if I'm not the manager, like if I'm not the boss or whatever, it does make it harder for me to work in environments because when people try to boss me around or people try to like lord over me, it really bothers me. It really bothers me. So yeah, I definitely have problems with that. What else was it? Get along in life. Yeah, like I said, there's a lot of people who meet me, and my strong personality is like way too much for them. Especially because I very much don't filter who I am. So like a lot of people, uh, yeah, there are people that bounce off of me. They meet me and they're like, hell no. My religion is loud riffs, full stack amps, and hearing loss. Uh, nice. Uh, Palema is super interesting to me. Crazy dense with Egyptian, Indian, Western esoteric blend. Interesting. I not. Let me do a quick Google here. Western esoteric, occult, social, and spiritual philosophy, a new religious movement founded in the 1900s by Crowley. Hmm. Interesting. I'm a little suspicious of Western occult spiritual philosophy. I'm not gonna lie, but I'd be interesting. I'd be interested in learning more about that. It means will in Greek, so the will or life's purpose is the most important aspect of the religion and philosophy. Right there in. Oops, I lost it. In Thelema, we say, "Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law. Love under will." Dilemma means I don't know how to say that properly. Means will in Greek. So the will, life's purpose, is the most important aspect of the religion philosophy. Right there in the second portion of the phrase, though, is love. The second most important aspect of thelema. Love includes passion, but also patience and respect. Being in a personal relationship can be powerful and enlightening. They encourage individualism, self transformation, and criticism, and those should come with a reasonable amount of respect for others. Oh, that all sounds pretty good. That all sounds pretty good. Ray, thank you for getting a membership there. I appreciate that. I appreciate that. You have a strong personality too. Yeah, it's hard for some people when you have a strong personality to like fit in with others and stuff. Like I can totally relate to that. Let's see here. I'm smoking 2 packs of Forest Fire here in Portland today along with everyone around me. Oh, I find your personality lights up the room. Aw, thank you for that. I really appreciate that. Oh, right. That's the Crowley spirituality, though Crowley was a nutter. I recognize the Crowley name, but I don't know all that much about the actual individual themselves. So I'm not going to speak out of turn there. But I think I don't even know how I've heard it and what context I've heard it, to be honest. So might I mention Thomas Merchian as reading to those interested in Buddhist theology from a Christian perspective? Oh, interesting. That it is always interesting to see like Westerners interpret, stuff like that. Let me Thomas Merchian. Oops, spelled the name wrong. Cookbooks. No. No, it's not a cookbook. The American Trappist monk, theologian, mystic poet, social activist. He was a professed member of the Abbey of Our Lady of Gethsemane in Kentucky. More than 50 books. Holy crap. Uh, Interfaith understanding, exploring Eastern religions through study and practice. He pioneered dialogue with prominent Asian spiritual figures. Oh, that's interesting. This sounds like kind of a cool person. Uh, I would be interested in reading some of their works actually, just to see what it's like. Merchant was first exposed to and become interested in Eastern religions when he read Huxley's Ends and Means the year before his conversion to Catholicism. Throughout his life, he studied Buddhism, Confucianism, Taoism, Hinduism, Sikhism, uh, Jainism, and Sufism. In addition to his academic and monastic studies. While he was not interested in what those traditions had to offer as doctrines and institutions, he was interested in what each said of the depth of human experience. He believed that for the most part, Christianity had forsaken its mystical tradition in favor of Cartesian emphasis on the reification of concepts, idolization, and of the reflexive consciousness, flight from being into verbalism, mathematics, and rationalization. Of all the Eastern traditions, he wrote most about Zen. Having studied the Desert Fathers and the Christian mystics, he found parallels between the language of Christian mystics and Zen philosophy. Well, you know what? This is right up my alley. I love this kind of shit. I love this shit a lot. So yeah, no, I definitely here, let me write that down. Hey Banana Brains. Welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Also, did you typo? Is there an I at the end or is it Merton? Thomas Merton, is that what it is? Is that how you say it? Interesting. That's cool. I'm gonna probably buy some of their books. The best philosophy I have heard and followed is still do whatever you want so long as it doesn't hurt or impede the rights of another. No, for sure. And like that is at the heart of a lot of spiritual practices. But spirituality does get a little deeper than that or just a little different than that. But no, for sure. That's cool. He sounds cooler than Campbell anyway. Oh, I don't know about that. I love Joseph Campbell. I think Joseph Campbell's books are incredibly like insightful and like the study of mythology is a really good thing. Like honestly, I think that this guy sounds like if you were to take Alan Watts, Joseph Campbell, and this guy Thomas Merton, they're probably all very copacetic. Like they all probably gel together pretty well. I don't know what necessarily your gripes are about Joseph Campbell, but I think that that guy is one of the greats. One of the greats. If it keeps glitching, I may duck out. It's good to see you on. Well, Sheepish, you can try refreshing or something, or maybe you're the certain browser or not. Well, you're not watching on a browser. You're probably watching on a YouTube app or something. But yeah, maybe try refreshing or something. I'm sorry if you're having issues with the stream. It seems like other people are not, so I'm not really sure if it's my end or your end or whatever. But yeah. Um I had a phase where I was into alt Western spiritualism, Wiccan, and paganism for a few years, and he came across my tables once or twice. I'm not sure who specifically you're referring to, but um, YouTube app has been buggy this week. Oh, that sucks. Sorry to hear that. Sorry to hear that. Refresh, lower the resolution. It may be buffering. Yeah, you can try lowering the resolution. That's also a good tip. Okay. Oh, isn't your rising Scorpio? Fixed rising signs are usually seen as strong personalities. I'm a Scorpio rising and a Scorpio sun and an Aquarius moon. So I'm like super Scorpio or whatever. I'm very Scorpio. Which is probably part of the reason why people have such a strong reaction to me. No, you're right. I think I'm just insecure about being a Campbell fan. He gets a bad rap for being a little colonizy. Um, yeah. I mean, like, look, when you're studying authors, like, you have to understand the context of the age in which they lived or whatever. Like, when did Joseph Campbell died? He died in like the 80s. He grew up in he was born 1904. I mean, like, yeah, like, society was a bit racist, and, like, uh, I don't think he's, like I don't think I don't know, maybe some people view him as I think he has kind of, like, a respect um, for non-Western cultures, and I don't know, I don't know. Some people have problems with Campbell, but, like, I think he's a good guy. Scorpio rising revengeance, yeah. Contextual lenses are important, true. Yeah, that's 3 fixed signs in your big 3. I have Leo, Sun, and Moon, so I feel that. Interesting. I'm not super duper into astrology. I know some people that are, but yeah. Oh, you were talking about Crowley, Dice Mistress, I see. Moon, not Mook. Yeah, I get you. All right, cool. We're gonna start the video. We're gonna record a video. So, like, all of you that are having this is gonna be the video is gonna be very congruent with the conversation the conversation that we're having right now. So if you all have contributions that you would like to provide in chat for the video, I definitely think that you should still provide those things. Like, I think that that's cool. Acacia, hello, welcome. Same with Carl Jung. Yeah, exactly. Like, none of these people are perfect people. Like, that's the thing, is, like, these people can be inspirational and knowledgeable and important, but you shouldn't idolize them beyond a reasonable point, right? Like, they are humans. They were flawed. They were imperfect beings, along with all of us. And yeah, maybe as long as Campbell isn't your only source of indigenous mythologies, always oh yeah, no, for sure, always supplement. No, for sure. Of course, of course. Like, I know that he has in certain texts, like, he described certain indigenous populations of having traditions that are kind of brutalistic or whatever. But, like, that is true, though. Like, a lot of indigenous societies, like, living the indigenous world is a bit brutal. Like, you can get killed by wildlife and stuff. Like, yeah, that can be a pretty brutal existence. And so oftentimes their mythologies and their traditions uh mirror that experience. Like, they don't live in a super posh environment, and so their mythologies aren't these, like, it's not all this super high-minded whatever stuff. It's all very visceral, it's all very physical, it's all very tied to the natural world and stuff like that. And so, like, I can understand how, like, maybe he probably didn't describe that stuff in the most respectful of lights, I guess I would say. I just know from Chani Nicholas, he was a nice, queer, inclusive, anti-patriarchy astro channel. Oh, okay. Gotcha. True, the idea of shadow work, I think, is really important. Yes, we're gonna talk about this. We're gonna talk about this. We're gonna talk about this. Actually, let me just add that, actually, as something to my bullet list. There we go. Perfect. Okay, so yeah, we're gonna start the video. It's gonna be very similar to what we're talking about here. It's because, like, honestly, like, being a leftist, you know what? We'll just do the video. We'll just do the video. That way, I don't have to reiterate and whatever. Ray, thank you so much for the 10 bits. I really appreciate that. All I know about my star signs is the birthday sign, and I'm Taurus, the fire, tiger, and Chinese astrology, but that's it. Yeah, it's like, I feel like astrology on the surface is very not useful, but when you dive deep into it, it becomes a lot more useful. There's an app that you can get on your phone. I think it's called The Pattern, and that is what I use for my astrology kind of insights. And I find that app to be pretty good, like, pretty useful. And so if you're new to astrology, you can get, like, basically your whole star chart on there, and you can kind of get an idea of, like, your rising sign and your moon and your sun and all your different houses and stuff. And so I think that's really good. I love Black Elk books. He was um Oglala Lakota shaman and a member of the Red Clouds band for a first-hand account of indigenous spiritual. No, for sure. And I do think, like, if you're gonna learn about indigenous cultures, like, for sure you should try to learn that stuff from people who are. Oh, Crazy Horse, not Red Cloud. Okay, But you should try to learn that stuff from the primary sources if possible, like for sure if possible. Like Joseph Campbell paints a broad brush, which is really useful in a lot of ways, but is not like obviously like if you're learning about specific cultural mythologies and stuff like that, you should definitely not not do that like just through Campbell. Uh, Campbell's monomyth is very helpful for shadow work, no doubt. Yeah, yeah, I would agree with that. It's a very fun way to psychologically analyze yourself, even if you don't believe in supernatural cosmology. Yeah, like, yeah, yes. Yeah, very well said, Citron. Very well said. Okay, so yes, we're gonna start the video because this is all like honestly, all of this conversation could have gone into the video. To be honest, it's just not me speaking as if it's a video. So let me get a good stretch here. I'm gonna take a sip of water and then we'll get going. Oh boy. Oh, I love a good stretch. Stretching feels so good. I need to do more yoga. I haven't done enough yoga lately. My body is feeling it. Okay. And also, just so you're all aware, the way I'm going to talk about things in the video might be a little more. I don't want to say hyperbolic, but like I'm going to use probably stronger language about things when talking about it in the video. And I don't mean any disrespect to anybody. Just so you're all aware. I want to drive a point home because I feel like some of this is kind of like hot take territory for me, and so that's kind of what I'm getting into with this video. It's sort of the framing for the video to try to make it more algorithmically friendly. All right, here we go. Is this a real background? Yeah, yeah, this is my room. My cat's back there. He's chilling. He's being a sleepy boy. Yep. This is my office or whatever. Okay. Why hello there and welcome to this video. Today I am dropping one of my hot takes on you in hopes that we can talk through this in a way that's not completely disorienting for everybody. I don't like the way I said that. We're going to start over. Hold on. Oh. Why hello there and welcome to this video. Today we are going to be talking about one of my hotter takes as a leftist. I feel like, as a leftist, there are certain things that I believe that don't necessarily gel or mesh with like the broader leftist community, like especially if you're talking about the online leftist community. So we're going to talk through one of those hot takes today, and just so that you can understand where I'm coming from, and maybe you can find a little bit of like agreement with me here, or maybe you just disagree entirely, but we can agree to disagree, which would be fantastic. I feel like as a leftist, sometimes when you get into these kinds of conversations, people are like, oh, I'm going to unsubscribe, or I'm not going to listen to you anymore, or I hate you, or whatever. And I feel like that kind of like hyperbolic division is not helpful for the movement. It's not helpful for us at all to be politically activated and then like turn against each other. So, as we talk through this topic today, I hope that you all approach it from a lens of trying to understand where I'm coming from, rather than just like comparing my beliefs to your beliefs. And if they disagree or aren't congruent, you're just going to freak out, right? So please don't freak out. But today we're talking about spirituality because I am very spiritual as a leftist. I have a very, very deep sense of spirituality. Spirituality has been incredibly important in my life as in my journey as becoming a leftist, but also like just in general, like developing as a person, and even in my trans experience, being spiritual has been a huge part of that in my discovery of myself and all sorts of things. So we're going to talk about that. But the reason why I feel like this is a hot take is because if you're online, if you kind of peruse the online leftist spaces, there's a lot of what I would call dogmatic atheism in leftist spaces, where there are people who like are obviously atheists, and they approach people who are spiritual or religious as if they are like scum of the earth, delusional, like insane people that deserve to be in like an asylum or something. Like they approach you with like the least respect possible. And I think that that is a super toxic aspect of the leftist movement. Like, I think that if we want to grow as a coalition and include people and try to spread our political ideology and like get people on board for the kind of political future that we would like to see as leftists, shitting on people for their spiritual and religious beliefs is like the opposite of what we should be doing as leftists. And if anything, I think that like if you are anti-colonial, if you're anti-imperialism, if you're like anti-colonialism, like you should be exploring spirituality and stuff like that, because like the western one of the sicknesses in the western world is the lack of spirituality, this like materialism, like this capitalistic materialism where like the only thing that's real is like money and things and stuff and physical things. Like if you distill all of life down into that, you are sacrificing so much meaning and value and connection and all sorts of stuff that I think is incredibly important to a movement and is part of what we need if we want to solve the sickness of the West and the sickness of capitalism and materialism and stuff like that. So I'm going to go through sort of like a series of points here. Like, I mean, like I could talk about spirituality forever. This is something I care deeply about. It's something I love. And I would like to just basically hit some points here, which will probably follow the line of like, this is going to be sort of hot take territory where I'm going to sort of challenge you. Like, especially if you disagree with me, this might be a sort of a challenging video. But I encourage you to stick along and watch it, because maybe it'll be interesting. Maybe you'll learn something, or maybe it'll just reinforce your beliefs and you'll come away from it being like, I disagree with her. Whatever that is, I don't care. You know, like you're your own person, you're on your own journey, but let's just get into it. So the first bullet point that I want to get into here is that dogmatic atheism is often hypocritical. And what I mean by this is the fact that like if you talk to a lot of online leftists who are like very, very dogmatically atheist, they approach Christians as if they are like, or not even just Christians, religious or spiritual people, as if they are like delusional, insane, like on another planet kind of people. You know, they approach you with this kind of vitriol where it's like, if you don't believe, if you don't have a lack of religion and a lack of spirituality, you're like a crazy person or whatever. I think that that's super hypocritical, because a lot of what these atheists say is they're like, they hate religion because they believe that a lot of religious people are trying to shove their beliefs down their throat. Like, I see a lot of atheists say this, where they're like, "Oh, you're delusional and you're trying to force everyone to be a Christian and blah 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 blah." Well, if you're dogmatic about your atheism, you're doing the exact same thing that you say that Christians are doing to other people. Or I don't want to target Christianity in this, but you know, living in America, that is one of the majority kind of like religious institutions in the country, and so a lot of people, whatever. And then, and also, I want to make a quick distinction. Like, there's the institution of religion, and then there's like religion as faith. You know, and I put a lot of stock into spirituality and faith as like a personal belief system. I do not put a lot of stock in the institutions of religion. Obviously, institutional religion has been used as a way to control people and, you know, take money from people and all sorts. It's been used in all sorts of horrible ways because people can use it as a form of power, right? So just keep in mind that distinction as we talk about this, that when I talk about spirituality and religion, I'm talking about the experience of being a religious or spiritual person and having a personal practice built around that. I'm not talking about like, oh, the institution of Catholicism in the Vatican and whatever. Like, I'm not talking about that kind of stuff. But if you are an atheist and you're like that stuff, you're like, oh, you know, you're all delusional and it's unbelievable that you think there's some dude in the sky or whatever. You're being a hypocrite, because you are essentially shoving your atheism down other people's throats. People are allowed to have a spiritual or religious practice. You know, like if you study philosophy, if you study theology and mythology, one of the things that you arrive at is that there's really no logical way to completely disprove the existence of like spirituality and religion and faith and mysticism and stuff like that. You can't do it. You can't. You can say that there's no way to definitively prove it, and you can say that there's no way to disprove it, but you can't put any stock on either of those arguments and still be in the right here. Like, that is what the whole point of faith is. Like, faith is the idea that like you don't know for sure, but you believe, right? Like you don't have literal knowledge of the factual truth of the nature of your spiritual practice or whatever, but you are believing in it. You have faith in it. Like there's this guy Kierkegaard, and one of the things that he wrote is that faith is like being uh like you're like imagine like there's the ocean and you're standing on top of the ocean, right? You're standing on top of the water. There's no land in sight. There's nothing underneath you. There's no ship. There's nothing. You're just standing there on top of the water, and you're just doing it. You're just doing it, right? That is faith. Faith is not built on these support structures of, oh, I need this to confirm my belief, and this to confirm my belief, and this and that and this. Faith is completely like accepting that there's a bit of absurdity there, right? Like there's an element of absurdism in faith, and that's a pivotal part of it. And if you take that away, it's no longer faith, right? So that's sort of the first point here. Is just that if you are dogmatic about your atheism, you are literally shoving your atheism down other people's throats, and you are not doing anyone a favor by like, trying to force people to like deconvert from their religion or something. Like I don't think that that's fair or nice or anything like that. And I think it's toxic to the leftist movement because like anyone who approaches leftism and then sees you act like that immediately gets a bad taste in their mouth. And like it's just bad. It's just bad. So like if you're an atheist, I don't know, take a little bit of a chill pill there and stop like attacking people for their own personal belief structures because you're not better than anyone else for your personal belief structure. It's something that really like that really gets my goat. Like I really get mad when people act like that because it's a level of arrogance that I find really frustrating. And honestly, a lot of the people that act like that are people that used to be religious and then deconverted from their religion, and now like they went from one extreme to the other, right? There's a lot of people who do that where like they live in an extreme and then they like they realize that they can't live in that extreme anymore, so they jump to the other extreme. And it's like it doesn't work. You need to find a way to like navigate that with nuance and stuff. And so yeah. The next thing I want to bring up is that strict atheism often lends itself to nihilism, which is inherently toxic in and of itself. So if you study the history of philosophy, philosophy kind of developed as a system of thought over a historical period. So like a lot of philosophical thought builds historically on top of previous thought that existed before. So like if you look at a lot of like early Greek philosophers, Plato is built on top of a lot of these early Greek philosophers, right? There are people that were before Plato, and then Plato built on top of those things, and then Aristotle built on top of Plato, and then like it just keeps going and going and going and going and going. Well, if you go through the tradition of philosophy and you go through the history of it, you arrive at nihilism. Nihilism is at a specific period of time where religion stopped having as much of a stranglehold over culture. And when you finally arrive at a society that is not driven primarily by religion, it kind of leads you to a situation where it's like, oh, we were deriving all of our meaning from these institutional religious structures and these spiritual practices and stuff like that. And if society is no longer based on all that stuff, where is all this value coming from? Like, where are we getting value? Where's all the meaning coming from? Like, where is all that grounded in? Because a lot of people were grounding their meaning and their purpose and their value in religion or spirituality or whatever you want to call it. And yes, that was a very specific time period, and nihilism was sort of a confrontation where it's like if you want to have specific belief systems and values, you have to contend with the fact that there is no objective grounding for that stuff. There is no way to sit down and be like, well, this is true because God said so or whatever. Like that stuff is not objectively a good way to ground anything. What you come to realize when you study nihilism is that none of that stuff is inherent, right? But if you look at the history of philosophy, what comes directly after nihilism is existentialism. And existentialism is the response to nihilism, where it says, okay. Like maybe value is not inherent. Maybe there's no like way to objectively ground all of this value in something that is completely immutable or whatever. But we have value regardless. Like we create value systems. Like we are humans, and that is one of the most foundational parts of being human is having value systems and believing in things and having stock in certain kinds of belief systems and stuff like that, right? Well, existentialism sort of gives you a structure to start creating value systems again, where it says, okay, maybe there's no objective grounding, but maybe we don't need it, right? Maybe you can just have your value system and accept the fact that you're just simply choosing to believe that stuff, and there's nothing inherently wrong with that. There's nothing that makes that less valuable or less important, but it is different, right? And then if you keep going on with the history of philosophy, a lot of existentialism influenced and informed modern philosophy and postmodernism and all that other whatever. So I just want to kind of like, if you are stuck in nihilism, that is because you are stuck in a specific kind of thinking that is often tied to like a very materialistic lens of the world. Like if you are not seeing value in anything, it might be because you're a little bit too materialistic. You're a little bit too tied to like structures that seem objective, like, you know, like certain science structures and other things can often give us this materialistic framing on the world that kind of feels like the value in the sauce or whatever is sucked away from your experience of the world. But it doesn't have to be that way. You can simply accept that you're going to generate meaning and value out of thin air as a human because that's what we do. And that's great. And I think that's beautiful. And I think accepting that is a pivotal part of growth as a human being. So if you're stuck in nihilism, I would say that like it's kind of a toxic mindset. I often see when I see people that are like stuck in this kind of nihilism, it's like you have some work to do. You have some self work to do to try to bring yourself out of that and move along through the series of like progressions of thought and experience that will lend you a better life, because you're not going to just be like, oh, nothing means anything, everything is pointless, like we're all just floating around the void or whatever. You know what I mean? Cool. So like I already can see how some people are gonna get upset at me for this. I get it. And if you self-describe as a nihilist, like whatever, dude, but like maybe look into that a little bit more. Like if you're just doing it as a kind of a buzzword thing, or maybe you haven't looked into the tradition of the history of philosophy or anything like that. Like I encourage you to explore that stuff a little bit deeper, because maybe you'll come to a conclusion that you're not quite ready for right now. As specifically as a trans person, I wanted to make sure to like include this within the video. Specifically as a trans person, I think being trans can kind of speak to something deeper within yourself, right? Like for me, being trans is a part of my spiritual journey. There is a very deep inner part of me that just understands and knows that this is who I am. And I want to say that in contrast to the medicalization that we often contend with in a Western society as trans people. Yes, you know, medicine is important, HRT is important, understanding it from a medical, a scientific point of view, I think is important. And I think that we should explore that stuff and we should study it. We should try to understand it to the best of our ability. But I think that there's a little bit of a problem with that, where like sometimes we rely too much on the medicalization of like the trans experience. Like we want to find like the trans gene, or we want to find like specific scientific proof that shows that trans people are objectively trans, and that there's like a trans cell that you can point to, and it's like, it's this one, this is why I'm trans, right? And I understand why it's scary not feeling like it's feeling like, hey, this is not grounded necessarily in some super objective medicalization kind of process of my experience, but instead this is just some deeply felt, deeply experienced thing that I'm going through, where I just know it to be true because I know myself, right? And that was my experience. Yeah, like we can try to do this whole like medicalization, and we can try to like whatever, but at the end of the day, like what if we find that there is like a trans gene or something, right? Like we find like, oh, there is like a medical kind of process that proves that people are trans. What if only 60% of trans people fall under that category? Then you have officially like shut 40% of the trans community out of the trans experience, because what? They don't fit the specific medical definition of what you say is trans. Like, do you see how this mirrors trans medicalism? Like, do you see how this kind of mirrors the thought of people being like, hey, if you're not on HRT, you're not really trans? Because that is what it is. Like, if you rely too much on these structures, to try to validate your personality and your identification and the way you present in the world, you are going to shoot yourself in the foot, because you're going to say like, okay, you put full stock and you're like, yes, I'm trans because of this medical thing, and that's why I'm trans, and you've already transitioned and you've done this stuff, and then you go get tested and you don't have the trans gene or whatever. Like suddenly, what do you do? Do you just not be trans anymore? If you really feel it at the deep core of yourself that you are trans and that is your experience and that is how you feel about yourself and that is what you know about yourself, then actually that medicalization part doesn't really matter. Like if anything, like it can be supplemental to your understanding of yourself as a trans person, but it shouldn't be the foundation of your very being. The spiritual experience allows you to have this kind of deeper connection with yourself. And I think that that's something that like sometimes trans people kind of avoid, because like a lot of the process is medical, right? Like, yeah, there is HRT. Yeah, there is like surgery, and there are all these things that like getting a gender dysphoria diagnosis and all this stuff kind of makes you think like, oh, this is some sort of like a thing, like a medical thing, right? But I think fundamentally it's really important to dig deep, deep, deep into yourself and question, why do I feel this way at a deep core of my being? Do I feel this way at a deep core of my being? What does it say about myself? Like, what does it say about who I want to be in the world? All of that stuff there's a lot of really important questions to ask yourself that you should be asking yourself alongside of taking your HRT and following through the process of transitioning medically. Like you should not be ignoring this personal growth aspect of the trans experience, where like if you're trans, you really got to dig deep and like really dig into yourself and have these introspective moments and ask these questions and really do that stuff. It's important. It's really important. Um, kind of the tie into that conversation a little bit, there's the idea of shadow work, right? Which is like the idea that like you have to confront the darkness that you are in your life. Like no one's perfect. Nobody's perfect. Everybody has problems and flaws and shortcomings and whatever. And confronting the darkness in your life and confronting the darkness that you put into the world is an incredibly important part of being spiritual or having a religious practice or whatever. And if you're not spiritual, I think oftentimes people run the risk of kind of ignoring that shit. Like if you have a very materialistic view of the world, like aren't you kind of out just to get, like you're out to get for you, right? Like you're out to get your bag, you're out to get your relationships, like you're out to have these things and this stuff and to get your own, right? But that's not all that life is. Life isn't just a bunch of performative social shit and a bunch of like, oh, I need to like win or whatever. Like that is not all of life. And if anything, like you should be concerned with like how you are in the world, in the sense that like how much light are you bringing into the world? Are you bringing light into the world, or are you actually making the world a darker place? Like, and in the ways that you're making the world a darker place, why? And what does that say about you? And what kind of like challenges can you put forward to yourself to try to like grow through those learnings, like where you realize, oh, like, oh shit, I've been a piece of shit at certain points in my life, but now having worked through that, I see that like I can be a better person in the world, and I can bring more positivity into the world, and I can try to be less of a toxic person. Like, and no one's perfect. Like this is like a lifelong journey. It's like if you see someone with toxic spirituality, they will act as if they had already won the game, right? Like someone who's toxic in their spirituality will be like, "Oh yeah, dude, like I went on a spiritual journey and now like I'm like great, bro. Like everything I do is like I like shit gold or whatever, bro. Like I'm so amazing." Like that is very fake spirituality. It's called having a spiritual ego, where like if you think that you have won the game of spirituality just by having like a single mystical experience or something like that, you have actually lost the game, because you have fallen prey to the idea that like you have fixed all of your problems, which is not true. Not for anybody, right? Like someone in chat says, "LOL, that's Russell Brand." Yeah, you can see that a lot in a Western society where there's this kind of like fake spirituality, and I think that that's often why a lot of people give a bad they have a bad taste when it comes to spirituality. Like they kind of view it as this really negative thing because they've interacted with people who are extremely fake with it. Like they're not doing the hard work. Like going through a spiritual journey is not easy. It requires a lot of very serious introspection, brutal honesty with yourself, and like it's challenging. It's not easy. It's hard. But that's the point, is that it's a rewarding experience where you go through this path and this journey and you work on yourself and you grow and you get more humble and you accept your shortfallings and you really build onto yourself to try to bring a better life into existence for yourself, right? And not just for yourself, but for the whole world. So that's something to keep in mind, is that there are a lot of people that are very fake about their spirituality. And I don't think that that's like, I don't think that you should use that as a way to judge people. Like the same way, like some people are very institutionally Christian, right? Like they go to church every week. They have no spiritual practice. They are literally just like spiritually dead people who are comforted by the idea that they're going to go to heaven. And like if you judge everyone with a spiritual practice or a religious belief based on those individuals, you're being kind of an asshole. Like I'm sorry, like you're that's not the way that it is. And fundamentally I think that people like that use that as an excuse to try to not have their own spiritual journey or spiritual experience. They sort of say like, well, that's not for me, or that's just bullshit or whatever. But I'm here to tell you that like there's a very real version of this that is very effectual in people's lives. And it's something that's difficult. It's not this woo woo, everything is love and light and everything's perfect and amazing and you're God's little perfect angel baby or whatever. Um, yeah. So next bullet point is that science is just one of the lenses that we use to look at things. Like I think a lot of people on the left are very pro science. I'm very pro science. I think that like if you're spiritual, you should be pro science. I don't think that those things are in conflict at all. But I think that there are a lot of leftists who think that they are in conflict with one another. And I think that that's a big misunderstanding. Like science is like a model. It's a way of modeling the world and trying to understand mechanically what's going on and the processes by which, cells divide and blah, 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 blah. Like all of that stuff is a way to look at the world. It is not the only way to look at the world. It is not the only lens through which we can try to view and understand and process our experiences and in our understandings of what it means to be alive and to have relationships and all this other stuff. Like, honestly, if your primary lens is science, then you're missing, I think, a lot from people. Like, if you have a very scientific lens and that is the only way that you view truth in the world as absolute, you are sort of overlooking an incredibly important thing. And it's like gonna lead you to an incredible, like we were talking about the nihilism thing earlier. If science is your primary lens of understanding in the world, you're gonna arrive at this very materialistic understanding of things where it's like, oh, we're just a bunch of electrical signals going through the brain and like that's all that you are. You're just a bunch of chemical processes. There's like there's absolutely nothing beyond that and blah 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 blah. Like I think that stuff is cringe, to be honest with you. Um, uh, like I think that that's like, you should come to realize that yes, science has an element of truth, but it is not the only kind of truth, and it is not the capital T truth. If anything, I think that the age of science sometimes deludes people into thinking that like we have arrived at the optimal understanding of the universe and that it's empty and materialistic and valueless and this like void of meaning and purpose and stuff. And like if you arrive at that as your end game, you're going to live a pretty shitty life. Like if we're talking in terms of like the utility that this will bring to your life, that is not going to bring a very positive outlook to you in your life, and it's not going to be very comforting as you navigate your life. So at the very least, if we're talking pragmatism, like it's not pragmatic to look at the lens of the world through purely scientific materialistic lenses. Like yes, if you're spiritual, I think you should be pro science. I don't think those things conflict at all. Now, if you're talking about like like someone said here, can't be biblically accurate and pro science. I would agree with that, because if you're looking at like religion, if you're looking at something like a faith, you have to contend with the fact that like these are not like the literal interpretation of religion is often the most useless and most toxic interpretation of that religion. If you're looking at the story of Jesus and the resurrection and all this stuff, and you're like, this literally historically happened, this is a fact of the world that this literally happened, I think you've missed the message. I think you've missed the boat. Like, the whole point of a lot of these stories is to impart some sort of understanding or lesson in the world to help you build an understanding of like the interconnectedness or whatever. Like, a lot of the messages that Jesus stood for and the stories that like revolve around his life are meant to be ways to help you grow and accept people and find love and mutual understanding and respect for people and all sorts of things, and forgiveness and all of this stuff. And all of that is really, really good. It's good for you. But what's bad for you is looking at all that stuff and being like, well, actually, if you look at this, literally this happened. Like, no, it didn't. It's stories written by people who are trying to impart certain understandings or certain lessons onto a population of people, right? Right. So, like, another lens through which you can look at things is mythology, and I encourage people to go look at world religions and study up on it, especially Eastern stuff. I think that, like, in the Western world, you're obviously a lot of you are probably very familiar with Christianity. We've referenced it quite a few times here in this video. But if you want to get really deep into spirituality and you want to try to learn some stuff about different traditions and different understandings of ways of looking at the world and ways of processing stuff, then look at Eastern stuff. Like, I think Buddhism, Taoism, Hinduism, like a lot of these, the mythologies and the stories told within those faiths and those spiritual practices are very powerful. Like, let me use an example that's not Eastern, but something that we can all understand, right? If you look at Greek traditions, right? If you think that every Greek person literally believed that all of these gods literally existed, then you're probably kind of wrong. Like, that's probably not true. A lot of these stories of the Greek myth or whatever, a lot of them have meaning within the stories that is way more powerful than the idea that these like literally happened. So, for instance, you have the idea of Icarus, who flew way too close to the sun, wings of wax, they melt, you plummet down to earth. If you just say like, "Oh, that literally happened," you get nothing out of it and you're kind of an idiot. But if you look at that myth and you say, "Okay, well, what's the lesson here? What is this trying to impart to me?" Then you get the understanding that like, hey, like, there's a limit to what you're able to do in the world and what you're able to achieve and what you're able to accomplish and all this other stuff. And if you try to push past those limits, you're going to fail, and not just fail, you're going to hurt yourself in the process. I want to take a second. Thank you so much, Anime Psychic Gal. Thank you so much for the $50. Thank you so much. I try to make a distinction between spirituality and ritualization. Spirituality is your internal personal experience. Ritualization is all the things you do outside yourself, gathering candles, bones, robes, all that jazz. I think that's a great way to look at it. And like, if you were to look, like, if we go back to like what I was just talking about with like Greek myth and stuff, there was a lot of ritualization that Greek people took part of, or took part in regards to these Greek mythologies. They had altars and they had all these temples and all this shit, right? And they sacrifice things and all this stuff. And a lot of people use that as a way to say like, oh, they literally believe that this stuff was like literally happening. And yeah, I'm sure there were a chunk of them that did believe that this stuff was literally true. But if anything, the ritualization of these gods and these myths and these things just gives you, it's like a way of putting stock into it in your life, right? It's a way of saying like, this is important to me and I'm going to put value and meaning into these gods and these figures because they're important to me and they have meaning and they provide things for me in terms of lessons or whatever. And now, of course, like I said, some people literally believe that that stuff was true, but like, not, I would probably say that like that's overrepresented in the way that people view these things. Um, so yeah, so that was just an example that I think that Western people will be able to grab onto a little bit easier. But if you look into Buddhism and Hinduism and Taoism and other Eastern traditions, I think you'll very quickly realize that it's saying a lot about the human experience. You learn about the Buddha and you learn about like all of these. I mean, there's so much within Eastern religion and spiritual practices that I think is just really good for the Westerner to kind of understand, because we have sort of an imbalance of understanding, right? If you have a very Westerner kind of view of the world, it would behoove you to try to like internalize and understand the world from the lens or the perspective of the Eastern practices and the Eastern mythologies. Like I think that there's a lot to gain from that, in the sense that like it gives you a different kind of understanding and a different frame and a different way of perceiving what's happening to you in your life. And honestly, like I feel like I was able to build a lot of empathy and a lot of peace within myself with the world and how everything progresses and karmic path and all this stuff, right? It really provided me a framework that was able to teach me a lot about myself and the world and the way things are, and the way that you are within the world, and all of that stuff. It's important. I think it's very important. And I know I'm a little bit on my soapbox in this video. So if I sound a little preachy to some of you, I'm sure that some of you who, especially those who disagree with me, this stuff sounds really preachy. But I encourage you to go seek these things out, because it's important. It's important, I think. And like, even if you disagree vehemently with me, like I have some suggestions for like people that can kind of get you like in the door of reading about this stuff, and if anything, it could just be interesting for you. It could be like something that you experience, and maybe you bounce off of it, maybe you don't. But regardless, you'll be like more, like if you're purely scientific and you're purely materialistic, at the very least, it'll provide you an understanding of the way that people live throughout the world and the kind of cultural traditions and practices that people have used to exist in this world and engage with another and have communal living and like communal structures and stuff like that. It's helpful for understanding how people are and live and exist in the world. So, yes. So some suggestions that I have for you in terms of people that can kind of get you in the door here. I think like some really good people that can just like get you on the initial path would be like Alan Watts and Joseph Campbell. And then someone earlier in the stream recommended someone who I have not read at all, but let me try to find it real quick. Thomas Merton, that's another person. I mean, there's like a ton of these people, right? Like there's a ton of spiritual leaders, and you have to be careful, because like, some people say they're spiritual leaders, but they actually are cult leaders. And you want to be careful that you're not like reading the teachings of a cult who are trying to indoctrinate you into a specific way of thinking, but instead you want to try to read people who explore different kinds of understandings. Like the thing I like about Alan Watts and Campbell specifically are that they talk about mythology from all sorts of different kinds of like lenses of understanding, right? Like they really have like a broad understanding of different kinds of religion, and these people are not anti-science. Like Campbell and Watts were pro-science. So it's like an integration of understanding that they're trying to synthesize for you and give you like some kind of like basic lessons and spiritual understandings. And so like, are these perfect teachers? No, there are no perfect teachers. But I think that these people are pretty good at like just kind of getting you started, and from there there's tons of people that you can get into. There's tons of people that can help you explore a deeper experience of the world. And yeah, I find that that's really important. It's really important to me. Like I honestly would not be the person that I am today without my spiritual practice. So if you appreciate who I am, if you think that I'm doing good things in the world, if you like how I am in the world and how I treat people, or whatever, if you view me as any kind of idol, which I don't really like. I get very uncomfortable with idol culture. But if that is something that you feel from me, where you have like some element of respect towards me, probably a lot of that is due to the fact that I have a spiritual practice. Because let me be real with you. At one point in my life, I was not like that. I was an atheist. I was like a dogmatic atheist at certain points in my life. I thought that it was stupid. I thought spirituality was dumb. I thought that people that believed in it were delusional. I thought that there was no meaning in life. Like I was rude and arrogant and kind of shitty about that stuff. And let me be honest with you, I was a shittier person for it. I was kind of like not a great person back in the day. And a lot of the ways in which I was able to grow and expand myself and build my understanding of myself to arrive at the person that I am today is through my own spiritual practice and through my studies. So yeah, and like honestly, like you can view this as like an intellectual understanding exercise if you want, if that helps you get into it or whatever. But I think that like really you should try to move past that and try to integrate some of these lessons into your personal life, even if it's just real simple shit. You know what I mean? And like honestly, that's like the real good stuff in spirituality are the simple things. But they give you depth to the simple things that you wouldn't have if you had a materialistic lens. Like instead of something just being cliche, it has sort of like a deeper meaning around it based on your understanding of the way that people have lived that lesson in their life and in the stories they've written to embody that kind of lesson and understanding. And yeah, it's great. And then again, I want to be clear. I'm making a distinction between institutionalized religion and spirituality. Like, I think institutional religion is a toxic, corrupted, uh thing. Like it tries to take spirituality and it uses it as a control structure to try to create like a power dynamic over people. And I think that that's incredibly problematic, like super problematic. But it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to be that way. So that's the video. Holy crap, I've been going for way too long. That's the video. I hope that you all stuck through me with this, and I hope it was interesting for some of you. I hope some of you look this stuff up. Like shoot, like, outside of Watts and Campbell, there's this book called The Enneagram, and, like, if you're looking for a really simple entry point into a spiritual practice, I think the Enneagram is a great thing to do. Like, a lot of people are kind of, like, burnt on astrology. A lot of people think astrology is dumb and stupid, but, like, a lot of people don't even know what the Enneagram is, and so, like, there's a book called The Wisdom of the Enneagram. It's, like, $12 on Amazon. Like, I would encourage you, just buy it, and read it and see what happens. See what you feel from it. See what you experience from it. See if it connects with you. See if it doesn't connect with you. I mean, all of that is totally fine. Everyone's going to have their own teachers. Everyone's going to have what works for them and what gets them in and what helps shape them and mold them and what they connect to. And that's all totally valid. So anyway, I would like to just end by saying thank you all so very much for the support. I know that I've been doing this thing for a little bit now, but it really means a lot to me that you're all here supporting me. If you watch to the end, especially, you're a goat. You're amazing. I very much appreciate what you are doing for me, and all of my Patreon subscribers and all of my everyone else. Like you're all wonderful. Like I think that like I'm super thankful for the community that I built here and for the kind of like environment that I've cultivated with my channel and everybody. So genuinely from the bottom of my heart, thank you all so very much. We're gonna keep going with the stream, but I just wanted to say all of that. You know, like if you're here watching, don't leave. The stream is gonna keep going. I'm wrapping up the video. So the video is what's getting wrapped right now. You're gonna see Patreon subscribers popping up on screen right now, and I'm going to shout out my super supporters. So we've got it. We've got a new super supporter in here. Thank you so much. I'm gonna shout you all out. You guys are like the goats of the goats. Like the greatest of the greatest of all time. And we have Spinning Patchwork Cat, Glitch Masta, Daniel Malloy, Rhonda, Art, Katie Starr, William the Concurrer, Gwen Vaughn, Dadzilla, Andrea Uhara, Kira, Sophie's Left Florida, Ultraviolet Vadu, Cassidy, Kate, Fiona Dobson, Cal Fiore, Trisha Pizzafred, Katie Bug, Melanie Scouten, Sarah J. Buck, Nikki Notzel, Sam Howard. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. I hope to grow the channel and I want to keep doing this for a long time. I get a lot of like purpose and value and meaning out of talking at all of you in you know, just through this camera. It means a lot to me, and I feel like if I can just like help bring a little bit of good into the world. Like, that's what I want to do. That is my underlying motivation for what I do here, is that like I want to leave the world a better place than like than when I came in, right? And so like I'm not here to like save anyone. I'm not here to like convert you. I'm not here to do whatever. But I do think that like, something that really means a lot to me is trying to be a positive influence on the world and try to bring something good into existence with this life that I have, because like what else am I going to do, right? Like what else is the purpose of my life if not to try to improve the lives of everyone else who I share this wonderful world with. So I'm thankful to be alive at the same time as you. I'm thankful to share this earth with you. I'm thankful for the opportunity to be here and to be doing what I'm doing, and I hope that you check out some of the rest of my content, because it's not all going to be like this, but it's still important to me, and if you like what I like me and stuff, it would yeah, I would appreciate it. So much love to all of you, and my last little thing before we end the video is drink some water. Oh hell yeah, that was a good video. That was a great video. I I liked it. Chat, what do you think? What do you think, chat? Was it good? Did I go hard? Did I do good? I didn't read much chat because honestly, I was like, I went into go mode, and I feel like if I went chat, if I like went into chat, I probably would have like the video would have just like ballooned inside, like it would have gotten so long. This is already going to be a really long video, but I was reading some of the chats that were popping in, and I think that, a lot of really good contributions were made within the chat. So I really appreciate all of you. Let's see. Let me scroll back a little bit and see what all people were talking about. I think often such atheists still practice Christian rituals. Yeah, that's really funny. Like people that are like dogmatic atheists, but they still celebrate Christmas and blah 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 blah. This is why I stopped watching several leftists mocking other people's beliefs as toxic as fuck. Yeah, I would agree with that, Asura. I think that that's a big turnoff for me. Like I'm not gonna like hate anyone for it, but it is a sign of someone's maturity in my eyes, like whether they are able to understand and accept that people have a different experience of the world than them. Like, like I look, if you're an atheist, I'm not gonna like shit on you, right? Like I'm not gonna be like, oh, you suck. The only kind of atheist I'm gonna shit on are the kind of atheists that are really arrogant and shitty about it. You know what I mean? Like that's what really matters to me the most. Hey, if you want to support the stream, please hit the like button. That would be huge. That would be huge. I would appreciate that a bunch. Many people who became lefties after being Christian retain the tendency to shun and shame. Yep. Yeah, they haven't deconstructed. Yep, exactly. They haven't deconstructed those instincts, and so they just apply it to something else. Debate bro atheists are tiresome AF. I would agree with that entirely. Where people live has a big part in the way atheists react. I'm stuck in the Bible Belt and it's really bad here. I'm not an atheist, but I'm definitely not Christian. Hey, Bree, like I totally understand that. I don't even know if you're still here. I totally understand that. I get why people have like a lot of people that are dogmatic atheists have religious trauma. And so like, like I totally understand that. I totally understand. Maybe you have some religious trauma and it kind of makes you feel like bad or icky about religion. But, like, I just think that some of those people take it a little too far. Every debate bro atheist becomes a debate bro Christian because that's a more fun debate. Just look at Alex O'Connor. I don't know that specific example. I don't follow like the debate bro stuff. It's not something I'm really into. Here, let me lower my chair. Kind of sick of standing here. Oh my gosh. Oh. My chair, lower my desk. What, my chair just stays where it is. Even beyond that, if you're insecure in the knowledge that there is no God, why would you care enough to debate morons about it? Yeah. In the Bible Belt, in an atheist, it's fun to watch the stories unfold. Cool. You're not materialistic enough because the true materialist knows that even objectivity is relative. That's kind of an interesting point. On the community connection and nihilism part, Andrewism has a good Andrewism has a good video on this called "It's Time to Rethink Religion." Interesting. Let me write that down. It's time to rethink religion. Andrewism. I'd just keep being myself regardless, but I personally don't fear the idea of finding the scientific route to being trans. I personally like when humanity enlightens with knowledge. No, I agree. And I think that studying this stuff scientifically is important and we should do that. Like I do think that it would be good to understand the scientific nature of no matter what it is of the trans experience. I think kind of what I was talking about is that I fear that we are tying ourselves entirely to the medicalization of the trans experience. Like I worry about that because genuinely, what if we find out oh, we do the studies and it's oh, here's the medical foundation for why, maybe some people are trans, but what if you aren't that, you know? I think that points to a deeper kind of trans experience where it's not just some gene or it's not just some kind of expression of a medical issue or whatever. So that's one thing I worry about with the trans community is that yes, that stuff should be studied, but we shouldn't tie our entire personality and identity structures to that stuff. And that kind of sounds like where you're at with it too, Katie. So I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm an agnostic atheist. I personally don't think there is a God, especially not in the biblical sense, but that doesn't just automatically make me a materialistic nihilist. I'm totes against that. Yeah, and that's fair. And you seem to be if you're you're the kind of atheist that I respect. I respect that. You're entitled to your own beliefs and understanding of the world. And if as long as you're not a materialistic nihilist hyper atheist who's out there shitting on everybody who has a spiritual practice, I'm not going to shit on you for having your own your own personal understanding of the world. I like I said when I started the video, I sort of had to frame the conversation around the idea of a hot take because the video is going to be the video is going to be this is one of my hottest takes or something. And yeah, I had to frame it in a way that made it sound like a hot take, right? So my spirituality involves exploring the human experience. Yeah, and that's that's a huge part of it. I mean, I would say that's almost all of it, right? I think that this a spiritual practice should connect you to your humanity on such a deep level that you understand the broad experience of humanity in such a way that yeah, I think that that's beautiful. I have a lot of respect for atheists, regardless of what I am. I think pluralism should be the gold standard. Hey, Sophie. Welcome. Girl, I totes disagree. That doesn't automatically lead down that path. I don't know what you're referring to that. Stephen Hawking said science doesn't disprove God. It makes him unnecessary. Buh! I'm sure everyone at the Bacchanals really literally believed in Dionysus. I'm sure that there were people that did literally believe in the Greek gods, but you also have to understand that they were colonizing other cultures and they were forced to publicly practice Greek traditions and stuff and Roman traditions and like uh how Kratos teaches us that rage and revenge only leads to hollowness and destruction, and that's a modern myth. The Buddhist parable of the three mustard seeds is really important lesson on grief, for instance. A big problem, especially in specific demographics in the States, is the lack of a true cultural identity, and this can be a way to grow that in oneself. I'd add Hema Chadron to your list. Okay. OMG, real. I was an edgy Reddit debate lord atheist as a teenager too. It lasted into my 20s. Oh yeah, I mean I was like that probably into my 20s. My spiritual journey kind of happened in my early 20s, so it was a long journey, of course, but people need to learn at their own pace, otherwise it's like preaching to a rebellious teen. Yeah, no, for sure. Everyone's going to go through their own journey with it. Everyone's going to go through their own you can't make someone go on a spiritual journey, right? That's something that like, all of this stuff is something that everyone has to go through in their own way, on their own time, in their own life and circumstances and stuff, and so, like, uh, yeah, like, I don't want anything that I don't want to anyone to view anything I said as, like, um, me poo-pooing other people's way of living or understanding the world. I wouldn't be the person I am today if I hadn't walked away from my religion and started living to learn about the people and the human experience. You don't need religion to grow spiritually. Yeah, I would agree with that. I am not a part of any specific religion. I do not identify as a religious person. I identify as a spiritual person. Some of early faith has to be considered in terms of survival of the tribe, be it don't eat shellfish, to do not murder. Yeah, no, I would agree with that. There was a huge part, especially in like, yeah, like in the days past where like uh religion and spiritual practices were ways that people connected communally. Learning about tarot too, the major arcana tells a story or plays Cyberpunk 2077. Nice. Here, I'm trying to catch up here. The Enneagram is great for developing character profiles in fiction writing too. Yeah, no, it for sure is. I think the Enneagram helped me really uh, understand it a bit better. The reason why I said the Enneagram is that like the Enneagram is often very like congruent with a lot of Westerners' understanding of the world and culture and stuff like that. Like it's a little less out there than the Eastern stuff, which is like, like I think is all like really, 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 really good stuff. But like I think that like most Westerners can read the Enneagram and be like, oh, okay. You know what I mean? Like, oh, okay, kind of idea. Catholic saint worship is basically Enneagram study. Did I already read that? Um, I don't know much about the Catholic faith, but I do know that the Enneagram has been influenced by many spiritual traditions. So, like, I have a book where there's like a Christian interpretation of the Enneagram, but that I've also seen Eastern interpretations of the Enneagram as well. So, I love watching when I see you go live. Oh, thank you, Sap and Fury. I really appreciate that. Thank you. Don't neglect your energy work. Yes, love is the law. Love under will. That's a good. I like that, by the way. 93. I'm not sure why you said that, but that's my birth year. It was, you should elaborate on subjects you're comfortable with. Yeah, if you read chat, it'd be a 45-minute video. I think it might be a 45-minute video even without me reading chat. The only religions I mock are the ones like the quote of Joe Rogan. Oh, still here. We love Andrewism. Great solar punk killed and caught. If you're trans and you haven't heard about Inanna Ishtar, you're missing out. You're right about medicalization, not to mention how many people are trying to find what's wrong with us in science and interpret heavily in that lens. Yeah, I would agree. I would agree with that. Yes, I would agree with that. Like it's kind of like how like, like with the DSM and stuff, like people are starting to like move away from the DSM. Like in terms of like the over medicalization of people's like psychological makeups and struggles and stuff like that. Like I think that in a lot of ways, like there's the idea that like there's mental illness, right? And then there's neurodiversity, right? And I'm a big proponent of like neurodiversity because I think framing everything that you experience in terms of like there's the right way to be and then there's mental illness is incredibly toxic to your understanding of yourself, to your ability to cope and heal and grow. And like I'm obviously autistic, and I view being autistic as being neurodivergent. I don't think I'm worse than autistic people. I don't think that I'm worse off. I don't think that I'm ill. I don't think that I'm sick because I'm autistic. I think that I'm just different. I think that I have a different neurological makeup, and I think that like I just think and view the world differently than holistic people. And there's nothing wrong with that. It comes with its own set of unique strengths and challenges. Like there are certain parts of being autistic that are like literally good for me. You know what I mean? Like being autistic is like literally a benefit to my life in very many ways, especially when you find ways to cope with the downsides. I think that it's a beautiful thing. I think being autistic is a beautiful thing. And same with a lot of that kind of stuff. And so like it's very much in that same vein. It's very much in that same vein. where it's like, yes, we're focused way too much on trying to find what's wrong with us with the medicalization of the trans experience, whereas like there is nothing wrong with us. Like being trans is not an illness. It's not a sickness. It's not something wrong with you. It's just a part of who you are. It's a part of your lived experience. And that's like part of the reason why I don't regret being trans. I don't like I don't I'm not like upset about it. Like I don't sit in my bed or lay in my bed at night cursing myself for being trans. It gives me a unique experience and perspective in life that cis people will never have. A lot of cis people, I mean, most cis people will have absolutely no reference point for what it means to live on both sides of the fence, so to speak. You know what I mean? And like I think that that's beautiful. I think that that's a beautiful thing. And like does it come with its own unique struggles and problems and issues? Yeah, for sure. Sure as fuck it does. But like that doesn't have to like be the entire focus of everything that we are like doing. Woo. Damn, I am like popping off tonight, chat. I really am. Um, I probably shouldn't be quoting Hawking considering what we know about him now. I meant that, and despite his hard takes, there was still. Yeah, I don't really respect Stephen Hawking all that much. I mean, like he was smart, I guess, but was also apparently a pedophile, so that's not very chill. I've had my fill of religion and spirituality after growing up in the conservative Lutheran Church of Missouri Synod. I still respect people. I get you, anomalous Nicole, but I would encourage you to disengage your understanding. Like, if I feel like you're conflating spirituality with institutional religion. You have religious trauma, but the religious trauma that you have is from institutional religion. It's not from religion in general or spirituality in general. Now, I know that that can be really hard to separate, and it can feel like maybe you can't separate it. And if you can't, I get it. I get it. Like if you're genuinely that traumatized about it, like I get it because like a lot of us grew up in households and with family that were very toxic and the institutional religion is a way to control people and it's bad. Like I think institutional religion is bad, but it's the same way that like there are people that have fake spirituality like I was talking about, right? Like there are people who are not really spiritual. Like they are literally just like using it as a way to feel better about themselves and to have like like a level of arrogance about who they are and like being better than other people and stuff like that. And that's not that's not what we're talking about here, you know? Like we're talking about the real shit or whatever. Everyone should experience ego death before claiming any type of spirituality. I'm so internet brained that when I heard about the three gunnas, I thought they said gooners. Oh, wow. Love my fellow neurodivergent queers. Hell yeah. Hoi, Leah found my way back on this tablet. Hey, good to see you, Sophie. One thing about the neurodivergency is people don't often seem to understand the context of it in psychology being a genetic and physical difference, while others use it for every difference in people. No, no, for sure. I get that. I totally get that. Uh like a lot of people just claim neurodivergence because they're quirky or whatever. And you know, like yes, we're all quirky. But like being neurodivergent is having a literal different neurological makeup that comes with its own unique challenges and also strengths, you know? Like I think there are strengths to it too, and I think that that's the thing that like when you're talking about the DSM and you're talking about the medicalization, it's focused on symptoms, it's focused on downsides and challenges, which yes, are important to talk about because like they matter and you need to learn coping skills and you need to learn how to deal with that stuff and try to integrate into society regardless of it. But um you know, I don't think that I think the hyper fixation on that kind of stuff is bad. Ooh, I am hot. I'm gonna turn on my little fan here. I'm cooking. I'm like literally cooking and I'm like cooking, you know? Um my first therapist made me think I wasn't trans because I didn't have a denial phase and wasn't self-loathing about it. Whoa, that's wild. I'm sorry to hear that that happened to you. That's crazy. That's unbelievable. Oh gosh, there are some really shitty therapists out there. The DSM frames everything in comparison to what a neurotypical, which isn't even objective. The acronym for ADHD just explains that the normies have to deal with it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, for sure, for sure. Yeah, like the DSM frames everything as if there's like a normal, and then everything else that's not that is bad, which is dumb. That's like the same thing that racism is. Like racism kind of like frames whiteness as like the normal thing or whatever, and anyone who's not white is not normal, which is so fucking stupid. Like it's so stupid. So Dadzilla, thank you so much for the $5. I really appreciate that. Raised Reformed Jewish, which means not Netanyahu crazy shit. No, I get you. Appreciate that. Gotta be extra humiliating to get assaulted by Stephen Hawking. Yeah. Yeah. I feel like that would, like, him being in the Epstein files is as confusing as it is, like, disheartening. It's like, first of all, how did that even happen? Second of all, I don't wanna know how that happened, but also, like, fuck that guy. Um, I'm sorry for Twitch. I was not ignoring you, Twitch. I apologize. Let me see here. All I did was wear a damn trans button with the local ballet company logo on it. I love that pin. I didn't even come out to them. That was done mid-June. Wait, what was it? A dentist isn't getting back to me after doing an unnecessary root canal. Wait, what? Uh, I'm sorry that happened to you, Dice Mistress. If you are cis and want to go to the gym or get an engagement on your body, that's the same thing that trans people go through. So far I haven't pushed you. People are only better than someone else in mind only. We are all still frail animals. Yeah, I get you there. I'm not quirky. I'm just autistic. Hot and maybe humid and about to rain outside if the AC isn't on. I can feel it with the AC on a low temp. It's actually like cooler today than it has been in a really long time. Like very, very it's very nice outside compared to what it has been. But I'm just like I'm going so hard with the chat on stream tonight that I'm like literally like I'm like burning up. Just so wild. Like my like isn't it kind of unbelievable that brains can like use so much energy that it like literally makes you like hot, you know? It's like I'm like burning up, and it's like I've done exercise, but literally all I did was just like get like hyper engaged on a specific topic and go hard on it. So wild. Uh but we are used to being the ignored redheaded stepchild. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Stephen Hawking is cool in my opinion. Uh, Sir Arthur Morgan, he's a pedophile, my guy. He was literally like diddling kids somehow, even though that doesn't really seem to. I don't really know how that was happening, but uh, Andrew LeMay, can we talk? No, you can chat, but we are not doing some like live call that is so stupid. About the DSM, that's the reason we need to recognize contextual lenses to find a more functional way of understanding. Yeah, yeah, I would agree with that. Oh my god. I forgot he was in the files on the flight logs. Yes. And it's one of those things where like we don't know what happened on the plane, right? Or whatever, but like to be honest, like I don't care. If someone was on the flight, if someone was involved with this stuff, I do not believe like a lot of these rich people, they like to pretend that they have no like oh, I was just around, like I had no idea that Epstein was doing all this stuff. I mean, it was just happening, and it was like completely invisibly to me, it's like I don't know anything about that. It's like bullshit. Like everyone knew. Everyone fucking knew. They all knew that what was going on and who was doing it, and they were all complicit in it. You know, it's like a house of cards, and no one wanted to be the one to topple the house of cards. But that makes you a shitty person. Like Stephen Hawking, regardless of what he did on the flight logs or whatever, like like I don't care. Like he clearly was in that world and knew about it and didn't give a damn. So yeah, like rest in piss. Um, you know who wasn't in the flight logs or in the files? This creator. Yeah, yeah, exactly. I would have been like a child during the peak of the Epstein stuff, to be honest, which is sad to think that that was going on. I think about that a lot, you know, that like throughout my entire childhood, this stuff was like very actively happening. And you know, like growing up in culture, like in American culture throughout the 90s and the early 2000s and stuff like that. Like we were all being like subliminally bombarded with like pedophiles. Like they were like everyone was everyone in power, all the famous people. Well, maybe not all the famous people, but you know, like a lot of people were involved with this stuff, and they were like a huge part of generating the cultural identity at the time as well. And so like a lot of that stuff is are it's like all tainted now. But it's like, you know, it's hard to have nostalgia for the past when the world was like being run by pedophiles. Only trans person in the files was a victim. Yeah. Epstein was a chaser. I saw a couple things that Epstein said about trans people where it's like, you know, like it makes sense. Like a pedophile, the sexualization of the trans people coinciding with pedophile, like that makes sense to me. You know what I mean? Like they're sexualizing children, they're sexualizing trans people, they're sexualizing everybody, right? Like it's just like a thing they're doing, which is gross, disgusting. I mean, Neil deGrasse Tyson was also accused of SA, so can't watch him anymore. I mean, let me be honest about Neil deGrasse Tyson. I thought that he was always kind of an insufferable piece of shit. I'm sorry to those who look up to him. Like, I'm sure he's like an intelligent, like objectively an intelligent person or whatever. But I'm not gonna lie. Every time I've ever listened to Neil deGrasse Tyson, I've been like, wow, this guy's kind of insufferable. Like he's kind of insufferable. Uh, I've always had that kind of icky reaction to him. He was literally the worst kind of chaser. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It sounds like it. Nostalgia is for people who have a good childhood and young adult life. Exactly. Um, and I don't, like, you know, like I've talked about this before, but I really don't have. I have a little, like, you know, sometimes with certain things, there's a little bit of nostalgia, but for the most part, I'm happier than I've ever been in my life, and I'm living more happily and peacefully than I ever have in my life. And like, so like, I don't have nostalgia for the past really. Like, I'm really, really thankful to be at the point that I'm at in my life. Neil deGrasse Tyson is the dogmatic atheist. Yeah, I would say he's like that. You know, that like, I haven't listened to him enough to know that and I don't know his specific positions or whatever on that stuff. So I don't know. But yeah, seems like it. I mean, like, you know, similar vein as in like Dawkins and stuff like that. You know what's interesting is that like Dawkins became like a transphobe, right? And so like it really goes to show that these people are not interested necessarily in the objective nature of things. They're interested in supporting their belief structure. And so like, you know, Dawkins being a transphobe, like clearly he's not the most objective person in the world like he claims to be, because if he were objective, he would be siding with trans people. Book smart and street smart are two different categories. Yeah, there's a lot of different kinds of intelligence, right? Uh Dawkins was a shithead from the get. Yeah, no, I agree with that. I also never really liked Dawkins. Well, there was like a very specific phase in my life where I thought Dawkins was cool for like 5 seconds, and then I was like, I matured a little bit, and I was like, oh fuck this guy, like fuck Dawkins. Like, I don't know. He's so insufferable. So insufferable. Like, imagine being that arrogant. You know what I mean? What if I was evil? That's a good question. Bill Mayer? Oh, fuck that guy, dude. Fuck that guy. Dawkins is a literal eugenicist. Yeah, exactly. And he tries to frame himself as this super objective whatever, but he's like kind of just a piece of shit. Tyson did stick up for trans people once, but I still don't like him much. Well, okay, cool. Like, um cool, but also like I just because someone supports trans people doesn't mean that I'm going to like back them, you know? And I think that that's what you're saying as well. But like there's like a we tend to I don't know, we tend to play like politics with some of that stuff and like, like if if someone stands up for trans rights, you're like, "Oh, he's on our team" or whatever. But like I think that that's really toxic. I just got here. What are we talking about? Sky Chosen. We are 2 hours and 16 minutes into a very complicated, in-depth conversation about like spirituality and belief structures and all this shit. Like I cannot give you the summary. If you really want to know, you can watch the VOD. You can rewind the stream and watch the VOD, especially after I stop streaming. There will be a VOD on my channel. You're more than welcome to watch it. I thought it was a good stream. I thought we had a lot of really good conversations. Um, I used to hang out in the atheist chat room website way back when. It was an interesting time. My state still likes to pretend that Coronado was a good person. You may watch the whole VOD. Yeah, I mean, if you want to, you don't have to or anything. But I just mean that, like, you want the short summary version of what we've been talking about. But I don't even know if I don't think I could do that. I don't think I could do it justice. When a biologist and physicist get screen time, they jump at the small chance to play a famous celebrity. Yeah, that's very true. Like when these people end up in the public eye, they try to play like the role of the idol or whatever. And so it actually says a lot about how like Neil deGrasse Tyson and these other people like frame in their own personal understanding of what it means to be uh quote unquote a celebrity or famous or whatever. The fact that they feel they got to play up the part or whatever is kind of icky to me in and of itself. Like Neil deGrasse Tyson obviously thinks he's hot shit, and that's kind of what bugs me about it. Like when people have this mindset of like, "Oh, I deserve to be famous because I'm like so smart or I'm so whatever." It's like, "No. No. No." Dawkins is also claimed to be a cultural Christian and fell in love with the Claude AI. Yeah, I saw that story that he fell in love with the Claude AI. Dude, that is so funny. Oh my god, it's so funny. Ugh. It's like you literally can't make that shit up. Like you cannot make a parody of that. It is just so ridiculous. So ridiculous. Okay. It is yeah. It's been like 2 hours and 18 minutes. I'm not gonna lie. I ate a little tiny snack before stream because I had a lot of stuff to do today and I did not get time to like eat dinner. So I'm like super hungry to the point where like my tummy feels like it's gonna like do something really bad to me if I don't eat something soon. Like I'm feeling really kind of crappy. I'm starting to get a headache and stuff. I should probably get going here so that I can eat dinner and start decompressing for the evening. But this has been a fantastic stream. Honestly, like great stream. Superb stream. You love to see it. I think that, these conversations are really, really nice to me. How did I get here just at the end? I'm sorry. But the VOD will be here for you. I'm sorry. But I always feel bad. Like I say this like pretty much every stream. There's always people who join at the end. And then like sometimes I feel like I need to keep going just to like provide you a little bit of like something so that like, it makes you clicking on worth it. But like I feel like shit right now. Like I need to go eat dinner. I need to like nourish myself because I feel my body like dying a little bit. But yeah, the VOD will be here. I'll be back on Friday. Friday, I don't know. I have a lot of stuff going on Friday, so like I need to like figure that out. It might be a slightly earlier stream on Friday. Like I'll probably end up doing like a rather early stream on Friday, and then we'll play like some video games or something. Like we'll just do whatever. Yeah, always great. Always great when you're here. Oh, thanks. Mental power burns calories. It really does. Don't worry about it. Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Devour, devour. It's your final hour. uh, Nightly, I've been lovely chatting with you and Pink Dragon. Thank you too. Oh yeah, no, of course. Thank you, thank you, thank you to everybody who contributed to the stream for all the chatting, all the engagement. You're all lovely. I'm super thankful for the community coming on here and having these wonderful conversations with all of you. It's great. I feel like we're all learning and growing together and having these wonderful conversations. Everyone contributes to me and I contribute to you, and it's great. It's great. I've got my link tree pinned in both chats, right? Yeah. I've got my link tree pinned in both chats. So if like you want to join the Discord or if you want to like check out my other social medias, like I have an Instagram where I post flow arts content and stuff like that, you're more than welcome to check that stuff out. But yeah, I will be back Friday with a chill casual stream where we're just gonna like, I don't know what we're gonna do. We're just gonna play Zomboid or something. So yeah, I will catch you all then. And until then, you know what I'm gonna say. Hydrate or dihydrate. Peace out.
Nothing bad can happen. It can only good happen.
Our enemies are innovative and resourceful, and so are we. They never stop thinking about new ways to harm our country and our people, and neither do we.
The things I do for love.